What up, IDS Mob? Welcome to Harry Dating Convos. This is the show where you learn how to be a better dater so you can get the women that you truly, truly desire. I'm your host, as always, Harry Wilmington, and today we have a treat. So, for those of you that have been in the YouTube space and the dating advice space, you may be familiar with a woman named Pearl Davis, aka Just Pearly Things. She has almost 2 million followers on her YouTube channel, and in the last couple of years, she has blown up. And so, as of late, she's recently started a new show called Pearl Daily, where she talks about men's issues, about how women are messing up in the world, and what we need to do better in order to have more fruitful relationships. And as part of her show, she has a call-in segment where people can call in and talk about whatever the topic of the day is. And so on this particular day, she was talking about the ways in which women oftentimes disrespect men in relationships or just during the dating phase that ends up disqualifying them that they may not be aware of. And so I was like, oh, I definitely got to call into this show and let her know about my experience of dating women at times that have done certain things that made me say, this isn't going to work out, right? So I want to review that video today. We'll take a look at that. And then also, when I was on the show, I wasn't the only caller in, so she takes calls one at a time. After my call was done, I stayed and watched some other shows. And as I was looking at some of the other guys that were coming onto the show, I started to get a better understanding of the fact that, men really get annoyed when women are judging us for how we look, because we think it's very shallow, and we're like, what does my look have to do with how I am as a person and my personality and how I treat people? And I totally get that, because at the end of the day, in a long-term relationship, what's ultimately going to matter is how each person treats the other person, regardless of how they look and how we dress and whatnot. But in looking at the guys coming on the show, which I'll show later, and then going on Reddit and seeing other guys that were struggling in their online dating profiles, looking at these guys, I could start to see how it is that women would reject these guys based on their looks. And again, it's not something we want to hear, but I really start to think from a different perspective of like, what is it that women are truly judging about these men that are disqualifying them simply based on how they're appearing in the world? And I think it's an important conversation to have, because as guys, we're going to forever be like, what I wear should not matter. But smart men understand the importance of their look and what it does to help them attain women. And I want you to have that same knowledge. So we're going to talk about all that stuff today. As always, guys, this show is ultimately about you. So if you have any questions you want to ask me during the course of the show, you can simply leave it in the chat. Beyond the show, you can always write to me at harry@introvertdatingsuccess.com with your question, and I will answer it on one of these shows. If you need a more deep dive into your situation, you can always go to introvertdatingsuccess.com and sign up for one-on-one coaching, as well as checking out any of my ebooks, audiobooks, and various programs that will give you a better understanding of women and help you get the dating life that you always wanted. All right. So thank you for stopping in today. Be sure to give this video a like as well and subscribe to this channel. All that kind of stuff helps with the algorithm, and I greatly appreciate it. All right. So before we get into the main topic though, there was a person that literally before I came on the show just left a comment on my YouTube page. And so this guy recently watched my pull away test video. And in that video, I talk about the reasons why women may pull away and ways that you can, stop that from happening, or if it does happen, the right way to react to it so she comes back into your good graces. And so this one guy said, I wish I watched this video a long time ago. I failed the pull away test and can testify it's all right on point what you were saying. Well, I appreciate the comment. I don't want you to beat yourself up, because the reality is dating is one of those things that unfortunately, a lot of the lessons you're going to learn about how to be better at it is through failure. And that means, unfortunately, there are going to be women along the way that you date and you're going to do the wrong thing. And then you're going to find out later why it was the wrong thing and what you should have done. And there may be an inclination to be, oh, I want to go back to that woman and try this out again. And hey, sometimes you can. And sometimes it's just, it is what it is. The woman's completely turned off and you got to move on to the next one. But the important thing is to always remember that there can, in fact, be a next one. If you are willing to put in the work to better yourself, to have a better understanding of what women actually want from men, and then to know how to do those things with future women. Now, if you need help with that kind of stuff, I have videos galore here on YouTube. You can also go to introvertdatingsuccess.com and sign up for coaching, because I am very good at being able to walk guys through this stuff and help them figure out exactly what they need to do in order to get the women that they want. So thank you though for that comment. I appreciate it. Like I said, dating, you're going to make mistakes. Don't browbeat yourself. Don't be mad. It's part of the game. And just like in video games, there might be like, say you're on level 1 and you're thinking like, oh man, I want to get this special item, but oh, you know what? I don't want to get it right now. I'll use it later. And then that item never shows up in the game again. You're like, oh, I should have gone back. Sometimes you don't get that, but you also find items later in the game that also are a bit more helpful. So, don't ever think that you're completely lost out because you didn't know how to do a certain thing with a certain woman that you really wanted. Other women will come along and you'll learn other things along the way that'll help you get even better, more high quality women. So thank you for commenting. All right. So with that said, let's go ahead and get into the meat of this show. So like I said, guys, Pearl Davis, aka Just Pearly Things, has been on YouTube for almost 3 years now. And she really started to take off in 2022 when she was putting out these regular lives called the pregame show, where she would interview like thousands of women, not all at the same time, but she would have regular interviews with like 5 to 8 people in her studio. And she was interviewing people like Andrew Tate, and she had on like Brittany Renner and all these other various both celebrities and non-celebrities that were coming on the platform to talk about dating and relationships. Now, she was monetized, but a lot of the stuff that she was talking about in reference to the things that women are doing wrong, it didn't sit well with the YouTube people, and so she got demonetized, which has happened a lot. Like a lot of men on these platforms start talking about like the things that women are doing wrong, and because we live in a society where, oh, women can do no wrong, how dare you say they're making mistakes, and if you say that, then you're a misogynist, then they will start to cancel those people. So it's not just Pearl. A lot of men have been canceled in this space for talking about that kind of stuff, but also Pearl herself got canceled, which I find amazing that she's still on YouTube. Like the fact that she got canceled, she's no longer monetized on YouTube, and she's still making shows to put on YouTube. I think that's pretty admirable, in my personal opinion, because she didn't have to do that, So she has her own website now called the Audacity Network, but she still does live streams daily from at Monday through Fridays at 3 p.m. Anyway, so she recently did a show where I believe the show was called What Are Things That Women Do That Cause Men to Disqualify Them? Something like that, right? And so on that show, she said, hey, if you want to call in, I'd love to hear examples of things that women have done that cause you to disqualify them, whether they knew about it or not. And so I was like, you know what? If I can get on that show, I definitely want to add my contribution. And so I was able to zoom in, and sure enough, I got on the show. So let's see what that looks like right here.
And the question is, what are some ways you have felt disrespected in a relationship that your significant other may or may not have been aware of?
Okay, so that's the question, right? And so I was like, let me call in here. Now, going on to the show, I was like, she gets a decent amount of viewers, usually 1,000, 2,000 viewers on the show. So I need to prepare myself. Let me look as clean as possible. I set up my entire studio. I got my lights there. I got my nice white shirt on. I got my headphones. My boom mic is here. My boom mic was a little bit louder than I needed it to be. So it was kind of a little bit, you'll hear a little bit of static when I'm talking, but not so annoying that you can't listen to it. But yeah, I knew going on a platform that gets seen by a lot of people, it's a good idea to look my best. And so that's what I did. And so here you'll get to hear the first answer to the question that she asked me. Let's play that.
Where are you calling out of?
I'm here in Wilmington, and I'm calling out of Los Angeles, California.
Oh, nice. So what are some ways that you have felt disrespected in a relationship that your significant other or date may have not been aware of?
Well, I think, and by the way, I would love to hear in the chat the answer to this question. In what ways, guys, have you potentially been disrespected by women that has caused you to be like, nope, not going any further? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. Leave it in the chat. I think one of the biggest things for women that they may not be aware of is just how much they interrupt guys. Like, especially when there's a disagreement happening. I have found that I'm a pretty even keel guy. Like, if there's an issue, you can come to me, talk to me. I'll listen to whatever you think it is I did wrong, apologize, and then I'll say, hey, here's on my end of things what was going wrong. And I have found doing that there are a surprising number of women that do not actually have the emotional intelligence or stability to handle those conversations. And so they'll jump in and interrupt as I'm trying to answer their question. Like, I'll let them talk for like 4 or 5 minutes, and then it is my turn. I'll get 10 seconds in. Well, no, that's not a thing because blah, blah, blah. And you're stupid trying to this. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with that? So that's one of the things that I found. Yeah, just as this is why it's good as a man to start really learning the ins and outs of communication, how conversations are supposed to work, learning about conflict resolution skills and how to be able to have a peaceful dynamic while also disagreeing. It's good for you as a man to build those skills, because if you build those skills, it'll be really, really easy for you to be able to identify women that don't have those skills. Because there's a difference between, you get in a disagreement with a woman and you guys are able to sit down and talk about it. And hey, you've calmed yourself down. You've taught yourself to be open to criticism, to hear what the other person is saying, to understand like, hey, I'm not always right. Let me take my ego out of this and actually hear what she has to say, right? And so if you do that, then it's going to start to feel really, really weird when you sit down with women and you're like, okay, I'm going to be a calm, cool guy. And you start trying to have a rational conversation and she wants to yell and she wants to berate and she wants to call you names and she wants to accuse you of things and she wants to say, oh, well, you didn't really mean that. And she wants to interrupt you as if she's already projecting that the thing you're going to say is going to be offensive to her. And the earlier that you're able to be a better communicator, then when you come across bad communicators, you'll know early on in the dating process, like, oh, if she's talking to me this way now, it's only going to get worse later. And so I found that to be true. I found that because I came from a family where we sat down and talked about stuff. I've read all these psychology books. I've read books on conflict resolution, etc. That if I'm dating a woman within the first 4 or 5 dates, even if we haven't gotten to a fight, right? Just me trying to talk and her interrupting me, for example, I already know how she's going to be in a fight and I'm already out. But early on in my dating life, I didn't know that. I would just assume, oh, they're really excited. Oh, they're really just a talker. But then we'd get into fights and it'd be either I'd be trying to, have a disagreement with them through text or in a one-on-one conversation where they'd just be jumping in nonstop, not actually waiting for me to answer them, but trying to railroad me instead. And so that's why I said to Pearl, yeah, women interrupting is a big thing because it goes beyond just interrupting me in a day-to-day conversation. It's interrupting me, meaning that you don't even respect me enough to actually hear me or believe that I'm not trying to be against you. I'm not trying to purposely have any ill will, but I have some legitimate concerns that I also want to bring up. And you want to get with women that are going to be willing to listen to that and not take it so offensively. They can take it personally, but they can't take it offensively to where they feel as though you're just saying things to try to get at them. And so that's what I explained to Pearl.
And have you ever disqualified a woman based on that without her knowing?
Well, without her knowing, usually it starts getting to that around the time that you've dated them for a while. Early on, they're pretty good at not being too interruptive. But yeah, even women that don't have good conflict resolution skills will know to be on their best behavior for, at the very least, the first 2 weeks to the first month. They'll be able to, if you say something that they either don't like or don't agree with, they'll be able to kind of put it to the side. But inevitably, if you spend enough time with the woman and she has bad conflict resolution skills, it's going to come out. She's going to, you're going to not text her right away one day and she's going to come to you and accuse you of cheating or doing whatever. It's going to come out. This is why you as a man should not be rushing so heavily into trying to make things with a woman a relationship, because you're going to be all up on your hormones and thinking, oh, I just want to bang or whatever. But if you're just a little bit more patient, you'll find that a woman that has any kind of negative traits or toxic personality things will start to reveal herself within months 1 or 2 if you're paying attention to her as a person, not just to her lady parts. Continue on here. But I have definitely disqualified women for basically either being really self-absorbent or trying to make arguments about them when it's not about them at all. For example, a long time ago, there was a woman I dated and we were doing pretty well, but I just noticed she was one of those that would interrupt during arguments and took things very personally if she didn't get her way. So, side story, me and my best friend, he came to California. We went to Vegas for the weekend with a female friend of his, white woman, which is important to the story. We party all night. we drop her off at her place in this very nice part of Vegas. And as we're leaving, we realized she left something in the car. My friend had rented like this really nice Lexus black car, looked really nice. Went back to the lady's place, dropped off the purse. We go to leave the neighborhood. We make a complete stop and take a turn, and we see cop lights come on. And there's this white cop that's stopping these two black dudes in a car in Vegas, asking us why we're in the neighborhood and what business do we have doing there, et cetera. So we go through this whole rigmarole of this cops harassing us. And because my friend was in the military, he showed his military ID, we got out. So fast forward to, we get back from Vegas, and I'm supposed to see her like the next day. And so she had called me. I missed the call because we just gotten back, and I was telling my roommate the story. And so I call her back like 5 minutes later, and she's getting sarcastic with me on the phone, like, I was just trying to call you, see how you're doing, and why didn't you pick up and whatever. And then I was trying to explain to her, we got back from Vegas very, very late. We hang up, and I start trying to text her like, hey, like, I didn't like that conversation. Your tone was kind of off. Like, I was just trying to explain to you what was going on. And then she was trying to explain back to me how she felt about stuff. And then I was like, look, I'm sorry. Like, I'm tired. I'm in a bad mood. We had these two cops like racially profile us in Vegas and pulled us over. And it's been like horrible. And her response back to me was, well, my dad's a cop. How dare you say cops are a-holes? Not all cops are like that. And I dumped her on the spot. Now, the part I forgot to say was that the reason she responded back to me the way she did is because I'd actually texted her and said, hey, like, I'm kind of tired. I'm upset because these a-hole cops stopped us like, racially profiled us and stopped us in Vegas. And so we had to deal with that situation. And yeah, she really wrote back to me, like, you shouldn't say all cops are a-holes. That's disrespectful. And I was sitting there like, how are you going to like make this about you in this scenario when I'm just trying to tell you, if anything, I'm trying to be like, look, have a little empathy for you, boy, because who knows what could have happened in Vegas with this cop stopping me. And she kind of like took it that direction. And I was just like, how can you be so into yourself that you're like, well, because my dad was a cop, therefore, ipso facto, not all cops are a-holes. And I'd be interested, honestly, because I haven't talked to her since like when that happened way back. I'd be curious to see like during the 2020 and 2021 issues, like with like George Floyd and stuff like that, if she had the same thought process when all that stuff is going on. But anyway, that's what the story I told Pearl.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So you were telling her a story and you thought that she would maybe give you some sympathy or at least listen. And then she made it about her dad. Yeah. Because I mean,
she was half black and half Asian. So I thought, racial profiling, it's a thing that happens in the community. She'd understand that. And to be like, well, my dad's a cop and I was like, I'm not even talking about your dad. I'm talking about a completely separate cop in a different. So it was just weird how, again, she made it about herself. She took it personally. And I just started calculating like, do I want my next 30 to 40 years to be like this? And I said, nope. And that was the end of it.
Are there any other ways that women that you've dated disrespected you in a relationship that made you disqualify them?
Yes. A big one also is, I come from the belief that men and women think about things differently. And so I've learned, so I do date coaching as well. I've learned not to take this stuff personally. If she thinks differently, it's totally fine. Mm-hmm. And I found a lot of women can't handle the way in which men think about things. I honestly think, when Kevin Samuels was alive, that was a big barometer to be able to tell the difference between women that can just have a conversation about somebody and disagree versus like, and you're a misogynist also, and you're the devil. And there are a lot of women that show themselves like they just can't handle that guys think about stuff differently. And so that's been a big one. Like if I'm not able to, because guys want to be able to, amongst ourselves, we tell each other truths about stuff, and it's not personal. It's not emotional. It's just, this is what we think. This is what it is. And a lot of women, you try to tell them they want honesty, you tell them what you're honestly thinking, and they go crazy. And I point this out because, the idea of women saying they want an honest guy, and yet women not being aware that their version of honesty and our version of honesty is different causes a lot of turmoil. Because to women, when they say they want somebody that's going to be honest, usually they're thinking about from the perspective of like, the honesty that I'm going to get is still going to be something that is going to make me feel good. Even if I disagree with it, how the honesty is told to me is going to be told in a way that I'm going to like. And so they're assuming that when a guy's going to deliver honesty, he's going to deliver it in the same way that a woman would, and also that if there are any displeasing things, a guy will have enough sense to know the times to say certain parts of honesty and certain times to not mention that part of honesty. And guys, let's be real. Amongst us, we know that honesty is honesty. If you're asking me for my actual opinion about something, just like when I get questions from you guys, I know as much as there are times where I want to sugarcoat some stuff, I know that doing that in the long run is going to be a disservice to you. And what I don't want is you coming back to me later saying, hey, you didn't give me a full answer about this and this messed me up. How dare you not do that? And so for guys, when women come to us and say, hey, give me the complete honest breakdown about my outfit, about my situation with my friends, about some idea I have for a business, and we say stuff that's in there that's not pleasing to them, then they take that as misogyny. They take that as trying to hurt their feelings or put them down or whatever, you know? And so even before Kevin Samuels was a thing, I would have conversations with women just trying to tell them the realistic ins and outs of how men think about relationships and why it is, for example, that men don't like women that typically sleep around a whole lot or have a bunch of guy friends or whatever. And what would the responses be? But that's just an insecure guy. Oh, that's jealousy. Well, no, that's not all women. And then the big one's always, well, you know, you didn't survey enough guys to really know X, Y, and Z. And so I found that women that jump into that bag, they end up being the worst women to date versus women that are like, okay, I could objectively see how this could be true from your angle or based on your experience, even though I don't feel like I agree with it because they're always about feelings. But given the things you're telling me now about your experience, I could see how that could be a thing. I don't need women to agree with everything I say, but the women that I'm dating, I need her to at least have an understanding and also know that my opinion, being based on my actual lived experience, isn't trying to demonize women at any time and isn't trying to hurt their feelings or put them in a negative light. As you guys know on this show, I've been called out sometimes like, oh, you're simping for women. It's like, it's not that. I generally have a overall positive viewpoint of women, but that does not mean that I don't see flaws. And I don't think that as a guy, if you're pointing out flaws or saying, hey, girlie, you did this thing, you need to fix it, that should be the grounds for getting canceled or dismissed or whatever, which a lot of women did to Pearl for trying to point stuff out. So yeah, if I'm dating somebody and they come across trying to do like, oh, I'm a feminist and oh, well, men are patriarchy, this, I'm already out because I know the road that's going to lead down and it's not a fun one. Right. As a guy, you end up having less trust for that woman because if I can't tell you my true thoughts, then you really don't want to know what's actually going on. You just want the lies told to you, and I'm not that guy.
Yeah. Okay, well, these are really good insights. Thank you very much for calling in.
I appreciate it. It's been fun. Pearl is really a fun person to talk to. Like her show is still incredible. It still provides great information. And, and hey, even with her, like, I don't agree with every single point that she makes. There are some political things that she's into that I'm definitely opposite of. But I genuinely believe, again, we can have various opinions on various things and still come to an agreement on a variety of things, And so before I get into the next part of the video, I do want to answer this guy's question since he was so kind to write it up. And by the way, guys, you can leave your questions down in the chat. I'm happy to answer them. I'm not charging anything, but if you want to leave a super chat as a thank you, I always take those as well. So this guy's question is a bit long, so I'll go through it. So this guy asked, as an introvert, me, how did you control emotions in your head on dates? For example, the girl gives you signs of her liking you and you're afraid on the next date you'll mess it up. Or like, does she really think that I'm interesting or is that just our mind playing tricks on us? I remember on your podcast, someone wrote to you that they lost 2 uncles, which caused him to not want to open up, so they left him. I kind of feel like that as an avoidant, but am working on it. However, it makes it hard to get in my element and I don't want that energy for the OP the OP caused him to not want to open up, so the X is left. I kind of feel like that is avoidant, but am working on it. However, it makes it hard to get in my element and don't want that energy. Okay, so here's the thing. I'll just make this very simple, right? As I've said time and time again on this show, what I do when I'm dating women is I take them on a date, I show them the best time possible, and then the way that I know that I did a good job and that they're continuing to build feelings is I wait a few days after that date to ask for the next date. If they say yes, I assume I'm doing a good job. If they say no, or they say I'm busy, or 1,000 of other excuses, and they don't try to counteroffer, then I know either A, I did a bad job, or B, they weren't feeling me. That's it. I keep my dating life extremely simple. And it used to not be that way. I used to be like, okay, I'm on this date, but I'm trying to gauge, because what you're trying to do right now is you're trying to get like assured confirmation that what you're doing is working. And that's what can cause you to be put into an anxious state, is you're on the date, not being in the moment, but you're thinking, but what is she thinking? What is she feeling? Am I doing a good job? Am I doing things right? Is she gonna want another date? What if I say this thing wrong? Oh my God. And I find that just personally, that's not a fun state for me to be in on a date. But that also is a result of you really wanting the person in front of you and thinking you got to control, manipulate things to make that happen. I just learned all I can do is take a woman on the best date that I possibly can and then wait a few days to see if I did a good job. And that's about as far about as I think now. I don't obsess on a date about, I'm prepared on a date, and objectively, I'm doing things on the date to make sure that she's having a good time, whether it's through the place we went to, the conversation we're having, etc. But I'm not overly obsessed about, I said this joke, was that enough for her to laugh to where she wants to have an interest in me? Like, that would be, I'm too much in my head, so I just sort of take myself out of that space. But to your specific question, he says, the girl gives you signs of liking you, and you're afraid on the next date you'll mess it up. Well, all I'm doing on a date is I'm looking for indicators of interest that signal that she's having an increased interest. But I'm not betting the farm on this being the date that makes her want to be the girlfriend. Because that's not going to happen. As I tell you guys, it takes 2 to 3 months for a woman to really properly vet you and to solidify her feelings for you. So because I go into dating with that thought process, I'm not ever thinking this is the date where she falls in love. This is the date where she wants to do stuff. I just think on this date, I'm going to do the best job possible, and then we'll see if I get a next one. And then 4 days later, oh, look, I got another date. Fantastic. So now let's take her on this kind of date, and I'm definitely going to go for the kiss at some point, but also what kind of conversations do I need to have with her? What kind of things do I need to ask her about herself? And then how can I make some magical sparks happen, right? Go through that date. Oh, man, she kissed me at the end of the date. That's so amazing. I leave it at that. I leave the date at the date. I go home, and I wait another 4 days or 5 days. In that time, if I'm doing a really good job, she's probably contacted me, at which point I've set up another date. Or if not, I'll wait till the 4 or 5 days pass, ask her on another date. Hey, let's do such and such and so-and-so. Boom, we go on that date. Maybe we make out. Maybe we do other stuff. Oh, this date was amazing. And so what I basically am doing is I'm analyzing my dates and my time with her the same way women do. Women are not, after 1 or 2 dates, being like, yep, he's husband material. No, they take each date, and then you know what they do? They go home, they sit with themselves. Assuming you're not texting her nonstop, she has time to do this. She sits down and starts thinking about the date, how she felt on the date, what the highlights were. She starts talking to her mom, her sister, her aunts, her cousins, her girlfriends about you and mentioning the kind of time they had. And then, oh, but he did this thing. What does that mean? And oh, let's figure out what this means. And oh, he hasn't talked to me yet. What's going on? And they're making all this analysis because they want to make the best decision possible. What guys typically do is 1 or 2 dates. Okay, can I get sex now? And that's going to mess you up. That's going to leave you anxious. That's going to make you go on dates and be thinking about, if I do a good enough job at the end of this date, I'll get a hookup. Oh my God. And that is not the primary focus. As I said before, the primary focus is to show her the best time possible in whatever capacity that means. So you go on a date, you're showing her the best time possible, and in the process of that, maybe she decides it's time to do some bedroom stuff. Maybe in the process she decides, you know what, I'm going to take him to introduce him to one of my friends, because even though it's too early, I'm just so excited about this guy. Like, they'll do that kind of stuff, you know? And so if she's giving you signs of liking you, keep that more as like, those are indicators that she's starting to build interest. Don't ever assume that at the point that she shows that she likes you, that it's a full like. It is at this date, at this time, he showed me a good enough time to where I feel really happy and great. But women also know that one date does not beget consistency. So her liking you by the end of a date, based on what you did on that date, totally normal. But she knows she has to look consistently at, are you able to replicate that on the next date, and the third date, and the fourth date, and the fifth date? And women in their history have found most guys don't do that. Most guys get to like date 2 or 3, and then they start messing up. So Yes, it's positive. It's good that she's showing indicators of interest and that she's showing that she likes you. But if you make the mistake of thinking that means that you've hit the finish line, you're going to mess up. So take it one date at a time. Show her a good time on that one date, and then wait until the next time to ask her out again, and then repeat. Women like to see consistency in men. It helps them establish trust. As long as you're consistently doing that, and you're not overburdening her with text between dates, you're not talking about how much you feel things for her already, then she of her own accord will come to the conclusion that she can now trust you because you're consistent, and now she has all the feelings, and now she doesn't want to let you go, so she comes to you to ask for the relationship. It really is that simple. So hopefully that answers your question. He says, thank you, coach. By the way, how many of your listeners have told you that you calm down our anxiety listening to your podcast and YouTube videos, helping feeling anxious? I know I can't be the only one. I get that quite a lot. Like, because the thing is, like, I come from a place where I was extremely anxious. Like, as a teenager, with no dad here to teach me the ropes and stuff, I was going at it just like freeballing things and messing up a lot. And so, luckily, I just kind of learned not to take things so personally, but that doesn't mean I wasn't anxious. It doesn't mean like, a lot of the stuff that I tell you guys to do are things that when I first tried them, I was severely anxious. So think of me like I'm coming to you from your future where you've already done all this stuff, right? So you're looking at, for example, you go on a date and you're like, okay, it's date 2. Oh my God, I'm nervous about kissing a girl. I've been the beneficiary of plenty of second dates where I went for the kiss and it was fine. Like, worst case scenario, I went for a kiss, I got a cheek. Oh no, I got a cheek. It was fine. I did one time where I kissed a girl on a first date and I found out later that it was maybe too soon. Oh my God, I'm terrified. And then she ended up kissing me on the third date. Like, I just heard the story of a dude that wrote me that said that he, the video I did about he went for a kiss on the first date and the woman was like, no, I'm not trying to rush things, this and that. Got a kiss on the second date. So I understand on some level the anxiousness you have because I've been through it. And I also know that anxiousness is our body saying there's a potentially terrible outcome that's going to happen if I do or do not do a thing in my dating life. And fear, if you do the acronym, is false evidence appearing real. Because all the fears I had in my 20s about dating, I came to find out are non-existent. Me trying to kiss a girl, me trying to approach women, me trying to get them on a date or trying to talk to them in a group and all this stuff. There's going to be such horrible consequences. None of that stuff. I've had it maybe if I asked out women 100 times, I've had maybe 3 times in my life where I either got laughed at, I got a woman pulled away from me one time, and I had a woman oh my God. But the majority of women, if they're going to reject you, are going to be like, oh, that's so sweet, but they're going to be relatively nice about it. So you just learn over time that a lot of the stuff we have in our head are just things that are meant to block us and protect us in our feelings, and they're really nothing burgers. So as you do this stuff more, you just learn to be less anxious, and I'm glad that I can be the person that guides you guys through that stuff. As always, you can watch tons of my videos. You can go to introvertdatingsuccess.com for even more in-depth knowledge, but I'm glad that I'm able to help you along on your journey. Okay, so we go through, so I'm on the Just Pearly things, right? I go on Pearl Daily, have a great time. My call ends. Now, I'll say this, guys in the comment section are brutal on these shows because, the internet's a very negative place. And so I was already expecting other men watching the show to be like, oh, he's so corny, or oh, he doesn't know this and that. So I think I maybe had 1 or 2 people comment some stuff, but for the most part, I got away relatively unscathed compared to some of the other guys that were on the show. So I watched the rest of the show and I'm looking at some of the other guys that come on. And as I'm looking at these guys objectively, right? I'm not thinking about looking at them from a guy perspective, right? I go into this part of my brain where I'm like, okay, these men are talking about how sometimes they get judged by women or they don't get a lot of dates or whatever, but they could be nice guys, cordial guys, but if I get out of my guy brain and I go into the brain of a woman who's looking for a mate to be with, and I'm looking at the guys that are coming on this show, objectively, could I see why maybe it is that they're struggling based off of just first appearances? There's a show out now called Pop the Balloon, and famously, there have been guys that have gone on that show. They just walk onto the show, and women are just like pop, 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 meaning that they're not going to choose him, right? And so, so I understand the thing that guys say when it's like, man, women say they want a guy that's 6 foot tall. There's guys that go on the Pop the Balloon show that are 6 feet tall or higher, and women are talking like, well, you're just not tall enough, or well, I don't like your shoes. I don't like your pants. And as a guy, it's very frustrating to hear, right? But again, if I get out of my guy mind and go into a woman's mind objectively, I start to realize that a lot of men are moving about in the world in a way which, whether it's their appearance, whether it's how they're dressing themselves, whether it's how they're walking or holding themselves, is not going to appeal to women for a variety of reasons. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you an example of a couple of the guys that showed up after me on the show. And then I'm going to show you other examples of guys that, honestly, I went to Reddit. They have a Hinge file on Reddit where people can say, hey, I'm not getting a lot of results on my online dating app profile. You tell me what's wrong. And in going through some of those profiles, looking at those guys, if I'm looking at how they're presenting themselves, they're not in the thought process of understanding what women are actually looking at when evaluating them. And so that's a disservice, because as much as we want to be like, I'm fine the way I am, you got to look at who your consumer is. And if your consumer is saying, you're not the product I want to buy, then you got to realize that maybe the product you're presenting needs to be altered in a way that's natural, but in a way that's going to get you better results. So I want to pull up this guy first, because most of these, I'm just going to show pictures, but this guy, when he was talking on screen, again, it's the guy that's struggling in dating, right? But you're going to hear the first part of what he says and get a better understanding of why that is. So let's bring him up to the stage here. Which one am I using? This one here. Okay.
I'm having a great day today. I found out the HOA, or the condo association, wants to basically make me leave. So I'm going to go move to Milwaukee and be kind of homeless for a bit.
So this guy's saying he's about to be homeless for a while. Now let's look at his outfit objectively. So he's got the hat on, he's got kind of a jacket and a mismatched thing. His beard is very, and his beard and mustache is very unkempt. His hair's kind of sticking out here, right? So this guy's going to walk about in the world, and he's going to see women, and women are not going to walk up to him, approach him, look at him in any way, and he's going to wonder why he's struggling. And then on the off chance a woman does happen to talk to him, he's going to tell them all about how he is potentially homeless, and he's going to try to give a legitimate excuse, because this happened, this and that. But a woman's going to look at his appearance and then hear that he's homeless and not give him a chance. And I wouldn't be able to say that she's in the wrong about that, right? So then let's look at some of the other guys that were on the show. Let's add to the stage here. So these are real people that showed up on Pearl's show. So then this guy comes up. This guy has got a eye patch. I don't know if that eye actually is missing. It could be, okay? But I'm just being objectively telling you what it is that women are looking at when they see us. So sees a guy, he's in military gear with skull cap thing on his, he says skulls on his skull cap. I think his hat says militia admit war or something like that. I don't know. But he's got the eye patch going. He's got another scruffy beard. And so this is another guy. Now, I don't know his dating life personally. So he also writes books. He's got a book that he wrote. So, hey, he could be getting women. I don't know. I'm just saying, objectively, a woman looking at this guy just like this in his day-to-day would probably be like, that guy seems like he's a bit off kilter. That seems dangerous to me. I'm not sure if that is the guy for me. So then we go to the next guy. Now, this guy, he's just wearing a black shirt. He's wearing a hunter's hat and a necklace. Again, beard. There's a lot of guys that are having unkempt beards. Guys, learn how to trim and keep the focal, I don't want to try to say, keep the shape of your beard in a way that's going to be more desirable, okay? It's not that women won't ever go for unkempt men, but I want you to look at this objectively, right? Okay, so this guy's wearing a plain shirt, necklace, and a hat. None of these things inherently go together. If this guy is just walking around in his day-to-day, he could be going to the store. He's not necessarily out there trying to get women, right? But he is single, he is lonely, he wants to be with somebody. You guys, you will never be able to know at what point you're going to be out and about and meet people. I recently did an event where it was for a politician, and I had to do an event whereby I was going to be filming somebody interviewing said politician. And when I'm there, there's a bunch of female guests that are there. There are the political person's handlers. There are like all these opportunities there of women to see me. If I'm walking, and so men don't think about that, because you got to think about in your day-to-day. If you're going to the bank, you're going to the mall, you're going to a hotel, you're going to go visit a friend and you have to like drive by people in their cars, you're going to an ice cream shop on your block and so you're trying to walk to the block. There are so many opportunities that are going to have you around women that could potentially see you. And men are going out like this. And they're wondering, how is it they're not able to meet women? Why aren't women making themselves available? this guy dressing like this, it's not the worst thing, but this is not going to make him stand out to the women that he probably wants. And so, yeah, this is another example of it's not the worst thing in the world, but you got to stop looking at you as a man. What are you looking at? And you got to start thinking about women in the world. What are they looking at? Now, the thing is, as a guy, you may be thinking, women aren't looking at me. They're not going to ever approach me. Like, why does it even matter, right? Let's look at the next guy. So this guy also called into Pearl's show. So this guy, let's be fair to him, right? He's at home. He's in his element. He's like, just going to go talk to Pearl. And he's not thinking it's a big deal, right? Now, you saw me when I was on the show. Let's go back to what I was wearing.
Question is,
I was wearing this. So again, it's a simple white tee, but it's plain. I ironed it ahead of time. And so I'm going on this platform knowing that there's a good chance that other people may want to potentially interview me if I know how to properly present myself. And that's how I go about in the world. Even when I'm at home, like on this show, this is a plain tee, but it's nice, it's clean cut, it's crisp. And so when I'm going out and about in the world, I'm trying to make sure that my shorts or my pants match my shirt. It ain't gotta be like I gotta dress up like Kevin Samuels or be in a suit all the time, but I am aware of me having to iron things and make sure they're not wrinkled and make sure that they look pressed. And as a kid and as a teenager / early 20s, didn't care. I'm going out in wrinkly shirts. I'm going out with tees that have all kinds of random graphic stuff on them. Not getting me any interest from women. So we go to this guy. This guy's thinking, I'm at home. I can totally schlub it up. But what if he decides, you know what? I need to go outside real quick to my mailbox and get some mail out. And he goes out to his mailbox, and across the street, a new woman has moved in, and she's like the standard for him. Like, she's the one that he's always dreamed about. She's got the right hair length, the right height, the right dress, the make. Oh, the boobs are popping, all that stuff, right? He went out to his mailbox. What do you think she's gonna see when she sees him? Is she gonna see a guy that's put together? Is she gonna see a guy that is making an effort in his presentation of himself? No. She's gonna see a schlub take a quick glance, be like, oh, let me not look that way. Let me not make sure that he doesn't know that I'm looking at him. And he's gonna miss out, and he's never gonna be aware of it because his clothes are the repellent to which he can't get the women that he wants, you know? So then I went to Reddit because I was like, you know what? I want to do a bigger show about like the looks thing, right? And for guys that are on dating apps, we hate the fact that, oh, it's all about looks and this and that. But yes, if you're on a dating app, you are essentially trying to sell yourself to women. Your looks matter. And there are too many men that go on dating apps and look a certain way. But I'm pointing out the dating apps part because the fact that these guys are willing to put these pictures on dating apps means this is also how they're moving about in the real world, if not worse. I find if people are trying to put their best on a dating app, and this is these guys' best, then they're probably dressing a lot worse in their day-to-day lives, and it's repelling women. So let's take a look at some of those pictures, right? So to start off with, this guy. So, and by the way, these are all pictures from guys that on the Hinge Reddit forum said, I am having a hard time getting matches on dating apps, which means they're also having a struggle meeting women in person as well. And so that's why I'm going to critique these guys' looks, because they don't understand what's going on, and I very much do. So, again, take out your male brain of, oh, but he's a nice guy, he's got a good personality. Let's take in the female brain of, okay, but this guy's looks are terrible. And why is that important? Because I actually found a video, I might still show it. I found a video on TikTok today that I wanted to show you guys. Let's see this let me just pull this up. See if I can, remove this for a second. See if I show this in the thing like here. So I'll try to play it without the light showing. I'll just put it in the thing. So I'll show you these first. Okay, so look. So first this guy, right? So what is wrong with this guy? Well, this guy, for one, his hair is all over the place. And it's not to say that that couldn't be a look, but you know, objectively, he'd be able to like maybe pull it back a little bit, and that way he'd be able to show his face a little bit more, right? But he's got the mustache and the beard here that's like, it's a little thin. I'm one of those guys that's like either you go all in or all out. And so it's kind of like his face can't decide how much hair it wants to have on it. He's got a graphic tee and he's got pants. Now, what's wrong with the graphic tee? Okay, let me show you this real quick. I was going to try to pull this up for the show. But like, okay, I found a picture of myself as a kid. So I'm gonna see if I can objectively show this to you guys. I might have to focus this a little bit, but let's see this right here. So that is me as a kid, right? And that is me wearing a Snoopy shirt, right? That is me as a 3-year-old kid wearing a Snoopy shirt. So, get this folks back. So you gotta ask yourself a question. If a girl now sees you in a graphic tee like this, what kind of judgment is she making? Is she making a judgment of you as a grown man or one that's potentially still a kid? Now, I'm not saying it's fair. I'm not saying that if you're wearing, you can never wear graphic tees ever, but I'm just objectively showing you that what are women looking at and how in their mind are they processing what they're looking at. So if they're seeing you, a grown man, in a shirt with a smiley face on it, that's not going to necessarily win you points with women. Just saying, real talk, you know? So, and then he's got his pants kind of unkempt. So when women are looking at this, they're thinking, he's already not putting in enough effort to be on a dating app, or if she sees you in person, this guy's not respecting himself enough to walk about in the world as if he's somebody important. Therefore, I should not find him important. Therefore, he's not going to be the kind of guy I can take around if I have, like, you know, we have a dinner meeting at our place where I'm trying to cook a big meal. He's going to show up like a schlub. And you may be thinking, but how often is that going to happen? Doesn't matter. What matters is, what are women thinking about when they're assessing you? And they're assessing that you're going to, in the long term, not be a person that's going to be good eye candy next to her. Should it matter that you're eye candy? In the grand scheme of things, I'll be honest. For the majority of a relationship, you will not need to be overly stylish. You just won't. You're going to be wearing shorts at home, sweatpants. She probably will too. But that does not mean that in the beginning phases of dating that women don't want to see that you have the ability to do that on the off chance that those kind of opportunities do happen to come by you guys as a couple. And too many men are walking around the world presenting themselves like this, like they don't give a care, they don't give a crap. And I point this out because, again, women are very much giving a crap. So I got the video now. I'm going to show it here real quick. Let's see if I can put it in here. I'm going to show you guys this video. Here we go. Bring it up here. All right, so I'm gonna bring this to the stage. So I'm just gonna show you a short video of this woman talking to women about getting ready. All right, and I'll show you why this is important in a second. So here we go.
Ugly. We're just not doing it like your celebrity lookalike. It's basically a cheat code to looking pretty. They have the best of the best makeup artists doing their makeup, and because you guys have similar features, you guys should be doing your makeup the same. We're gonna use this filter to see which celebrity I look like. Lana Del Rey. Okay, I do get this. Lana has a very distinct makeup look. All right, I'm going in with my palette.
So I don't need to show you the whole video, but I noticed that, right? She found an app where her face can be scanned in order to be able to get the kind of makeup look that she needs to have based on what a celebrity looks like. This is just a small example of how much work women are putting into their looks to present themselves to the world. And then they see you putting no effort in and think to themselves, why would I? Why would I get with this guy? Like I spent an hour today putting makeup on, trying to get the right dress. I've seen women spend like 2 hours in their closet trying to find the right shoe for an event. And then they go out in the world and try to find guys that they don't want a guy to be as pretty as them. They just want a guy that looks like he has some kind of effort. You know, I can wear this shirt and the right pair of pants and women will be like, oh my God, he's amazing. But the fact that I know it's this shirt, not that shirt, not the graphic shirt. The fact that my pants are pressed versus this guy that has wrinkled pants, is it any wonder that women will start to turn guys away just based off of looks? So I don't want to keep ragging on this guy. Let's go to the next guy. So then we have this guy. So this guy purposely put this photo on his profile. What is wrong with this? So let's go into the girl brain and look at this objectively, right? For one, let's not get to the clothes first. His posture. That is the pose of a woman. Woman's the one's gonna pose like this and put her hand on her knee and do. So he's already giving off feminine pose matched with feminine look on his face of like the kind of weird smile he's doing. Like it's an okay smile, but it's like the combination of the smile and the pose, it's going to read to a woman as this guy's being feminine. That's before we get into the outfit. So woman, objectively in her brain, this guy's wearing a long sleeve shirt, but then also shorts, and the shorts are a color that don't match well with the outer shirt that he's wearing. This guy looks like a guy that, again, doesn't put effort into his looks and does not have the ability to make good decisions for himself. And then a woman's gonna think, if he can't make even good decisions about himself for what he's gonna wear, there's no way he can make good decisions about me. So again, woman's gonna see this and be like, in the real world, what's this guy doing? and is going to just completely ignore him. And that's the hard part for guys. It's like, they're not going to understand, but women don't ever tell me a thing. Yeah, because women already have it in their head to bypass looking at you further once they see a glimpse of what you're wearing, a glimpse of how you're carrying yourself, a glimpse of how you're posing. Like, you're not going to even be on their radar at that point because they're just going to be like, nope, and that's it. It's a small little split second of a thought, but that puts you out of the running. And so now picture you're on a dating app, or picture in the real world, you have girl after girl after girl rejecting, but they're not coming up to you directly for the rejection. You just get to sit there and wonder, what am I doing wrong? And a woman's not going to come up to you and tell you, hey, I would be attracted to you if you weren't wearing crap like this, if you weren't wearing shorts that were mismatched with your top, like, then I might be interested. You're not going to get that spiel because women are nice people. They're not meant to try to hurt your feelings. And so if you go up to a woman, you're like say this guy goes up to a woman and it's like, hey, I think you're really attractive, blah, 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 blah. She's not going to sit there and think of a way to reject you without saying it's because of your looks. At least on the Pop the Balloon show, they'll be like, objectively, I don't like your face. I don't like your height. It's all very stupid, but at least they're in an environment where they have to verbalize it and there's not going to be much punishment. But in the real world, women aren't going to tell you. So you have to just know that this isn't something you should be wearing. But a lot of guys either don't get that education or they're afraid that changing it means that they're changing themselves and it's not their real self and it's a whole thing. So let's go to the next guy. Do I have to say anything? Like, the guy looks like a kid that just found out he's getting his favorite candy for Halloween. Like, he seems, just in the body pose, he seems very overeager. He seems like a guy that's like, please, 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 pick me. And women don't like that energy, you know? And that's before we get into, again, that's his stance. Now, I will say, his clothes here, objectively, he's got good taste in terms of like the color palette. He's got the blue going with the dark cream colored shirt. Like, this could work, but then the pose that he has completely ruins it. So now we got to look at, okay, in his day-to-day life, when he's out and about, walking around, how is he positioning himself? Is he walking with his shoulders up, with his chest out proud? Or is he walking around like, okay, I'm just make myself small because I don't want to be in the way of people? And so women are also looking at how you posture yourself. If you're posturing yourself in negative ways that indicate that you don't feel as though you're important, then yeah, women are going to look at you, make a judgment and say, I could walk all over this guy. I don't want to date a guy I can walk all over. Or this guy is very much like a puppy. I could just do whatever I want with him. But that's a problem because women want guys that'll lead and come in and take charge, because when danger arises, she doesn't want to be in charge. She wants you to be able to take the reins. And this guy looks like a guy that's going to be like, oh, please, princess, whatever you want to do. And in times of harm, that's not where women want you to be. So again, objectively, we could be mad that women are making judgment calls on looks, but this is another example of this guy is going about in the world not aware of how he's carrying himself and how women are judging the way that he's carrying himself and what it means in terms of their judgment. Because I don't think all judgments are bad judgments. I don't think that, if a woman looks at you and says, I would never, that's not always a bad thing. Because it could be, I would never because he looks like he can't protect me. I would never because he doesn't look like the kind of guy that knows how to dress for a proper dinner. Like, I completely understand that if I'm going into a woman's brain. This doesn't negate that this guy could have an awesome, dynamite personality. But you got to understand, guy, when women first see you, they don't know that. All they know is they're looking at you and making assessments. And how you carry yourself is going to be a big factor into how you're assessed for that. So then, this next guy here, this guy, again, he's on dating apps and he's trying to get women. Objectively, he looks like he could be a lesbian. That is a problem because that means he's carrying too much feminine energy. Again, this guy said he's struggling to get dates. He's got an earring. He's got the lesbian haircut. He's got the kind of shirt on that looks like if he had cleavage, he'd be trying to show up, but he'd still be flat chested, not really. And the pants don't match the shirt. So, but just again, look at his posture. He's sitting like a guy that's just like very proper, very demure. And that's not the guy most women are going to go for, both in real life and on dating apps. So again, he's in the world living his life with that haircut and that fashion choice. And he's going to like maybe clubs or he's going to places where there are a lot of women and he's not getting approached. He's not having any girls glance over at him. He's talking to probably female friends in his life and not understanding why I'm such a great guy, but I just can't get women. And they're all judging this look right here. And I can't be mad at that. Like, hey, I'd love to be able to be like, this guy probably has a great personality. And so how dare these women judge him? I'm looking at this like, are we sure he's going after women? And if so, are we sure that he's not potentially, and I'm not trying to insult the guy, because again, I came from a household where my dad wasn't there. I grew up around mostly women, and there was a time in my life where I had a lot of female mannerisms, not because I was gay, but because I was around women, and that's mostly what I saw. And so it took me having to be around guys to start to get better understanding of like, okay, this is how men move. And you might be thinking, but Harry, why was that necessary? Because however you moved, that's how you were, you should be, blah, 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 blah. Always stop to consider that how you are up to this point is all learned stuff. And some of the stuff that you learned about how you are now could have been wrong, could have been a mistake. Like you talking with the lisp or sashaying your hips. Maybe you were taught, for example, as a guy, it's totally fine for you as a guy to do that. That doesn't mean that that's correct. And so you have to objectively look at the way that you are up to this point is just how you are, and whether your ego likes it or not. The world at large is going to give you information about how you are and whether or not it works for the world at large. I learned that some of the ways that I walked or moved my hands at times were not things that women were attracted to. I learned to talk slower in front of women because talking fast in front of women sometimes makes them feel as though like either you're nervous, you're anxious, or you lean a little bit towards the other way. And I didn't want to give that impression to women early on. And so I learned to be a bit slower on dates, to be more purposeful in my movements. And then as it pertains to my look, I learned what colors do women typically find more appealing and attractive when they first see you? What kind of hairstyle? What kind of, you insert the thing. Like you learning those things is not you taking away from yourself. It's being able to correct some of the things you learned early that may have been things that are actually hindering you. I don't know how this guy learned about this particular fashion or this particular haircut, but whoever taught him that this is okay needs to get slapped in the face. But it's not too late for him to learn that if he's willing to say objectively, yeah, my looks got to kind of be up to par if I want to get more women. Or he could be like a lot of dudes that are just like, appearance shouldn't matter, I'm still a great guy, and you'll just be single. And that's totally fine. You can make the decision to be single and just be who you are consistently. But I've learned to take being who I am as being a person that's willing to evolve if it means I'm going to be able to get better results. So consider that. So then we get this next person right here, right? So now this is an example of there is inherently nothing wrong with this guy's face except for how he's posturing his face. So again, he put this on a dating app. He thought this would be the picture, is just looking into the void, staring straight, with his hair all unkempt. The sad part is if he had his hair done up the right way and his beard's already pretty even keel, if he had a look on his face that didn't look like he was just lost in space, he could actually get away with this picture. But because he has not everything completely put together, it's going to make women look at him and say, I don't know what this is about, but I don't like the feeling tone I'm getting with this look, and so I got to be out. And that's the thing, guy. You got to start getting into women's heads about what they're finding attractive. Not what you think they should find attractive, but what they actually find attractive. Is this the kind of look that's going to make women be attracted? Probably not. So this is not a good face to have when you're walking about in the world and women are looking at you, or when you're trying to go on a dating app where women are going to try to choose you. And then we get to this guy here. Again, this is another one of those guys where just the vibe, like the outfit itself, it's jeans and it's a shirt. It's not a standout outfit, but it's not going to knock him too many points. But again, the face he's making is a face of like, please choose me. I'm desperate. I'm lonely. Oh my God. And he's not gonna be able to see that. Like, and again, I know I talk a lot about like the faces that these guys are making, but yes, guys, you need to learn how to be in control of what your face is actually doing when you're walking around in the world. If you're walking around like this, that's going to convey a certain kind of energy that women are going to read and make a choice about and a judgment about. And the energy he's getting right now is, I just want somebody to choose me, please. And ironically enough, that's never worked ever for men to get women. So you have to start looking at, okay, when I'm just doing resting face, what does my face look like? Am I making a squinty face? Am I making a frown face? Like, you really got to look at that. Why? Because women are looking at it. And if you're not the first one to catch what you're doing, trust me, they're going to catch it. And if they don't like it, they're going to stay away. And we get this guy here, again, same kind of issue where it's like, it's not the, like objectively, this guy could get women. But he said he's struggling. So we start off with, let's say this picture, his glasses. Something as simple as like the frames you choose for your glasses could make the difference between a woman that's like, he's got glasses, but I'd still totally do him. And, oh, he looks kind of nerdy. He looks kind of not confident. I don't know. And that little I don't know is going to cause the other guy to come along to win out over you. On top of, this guy's shirt is wrinkled. I really stress, guys, women are looking at how pressed your shirts are. They ain't got to be the most impressive, but they need to be pressed. So if you're not going to care about that kind of stuff, she's going to think if he doesn't care enough about himself to take care of his clothing, then he may not take enough care to take care of us in the relationship. It's a stupid correlation to make. As guys, it makes no sense. To women, it makes sense. So do you care what makes sense to you or it makes sense to them? If what makes sense to them is when I see a guy with a pressed shirt, it makes me feel as though he takes care of himself, which means he'll take care of me. They're the consumer. I care about what is the consumer thinking when I'm saying or doing a thing. If they think that me pressing my shirt equals me being a more steadfast guy and a more confident guy and when it's going to take care of them, I will spend 90 seconds pressing a shirt. Just saying. And then we get to this guy. Now, I actually took 2 pictures of this guy because in this first picture, you can see just on his face alone, for one, again, his face, he seems like he's too happy to be there. And it's not that it's the worst thing in the world to show that you're happy. But again, women are reading off of your face as though you're a little bit too happy and desperate for somebody's attention. On top of what's his grooming his grooming situation. His hair's unkempt. He's got the unibrow going here. And maybe in some countries that works. He's trying to date in the United States. That's not going to work. And even if he doesn't like that, even if he's like, but the unibrow is just who I am, they should take me. Hey, I'm not saying that they shouldn't take you, but I'm not in the world of should. And so what a woman should do and what she's actually going to do and what she's actually going to judge you on are 2 different things. Yes, guy, you're going to get judged for having a unibrow. And so this isn't helping you. But again, you're thinking because you're such a great guy, if women just take the time to get to know you, they're not going to want to get to know you if they can't get past the verse barrier, which is what you look like, right? But I took 2 pictures of this guy in particular because in this picture you can see it's a no, it's a not happening, right? But then let's look at this other picture here. So in this picture, he looks almost like a Korean pop star. Like objectively, his pants and shirt look pretty decently. He's got a nice watch on, so he's knowing how to accentuate his features. He's got a pair of glasses on that make him look very, very intelligent. And so this guy should be able to get women, objectively. But because he's mostly showing up as this guy, he's not going to reap the benefits that this guy could probably get, in addition to, like, you know, if you know how to carry himself, the kind of conversations to have, etc., right? So all these things I say to you guys is this, is that looks are not the end all be all in terms of who you are as a person. But you got to understand, guy, like we could be judgmental to women all day about they shouldn't just judge guys on looks and they should really be able to get to know me and blah, 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 blah. And I used to feel that same way. And to some level, there are levels of this that I still do. I do believe if a woman's saying a guy's not good enough because he's 6 feet, that's a woman being stupid. If she's saying, oh, like your shoes, objectively, we could say, I could just change shoes. You're being silly. But if your total package is one that if she's adding all these pieces together equals an unput together guy, you're not going to win women. Like, you might be able to get away with your shoes not being so great if your pants are pressed, if your shirt's on point, if you got your hair and stuff done. But if your shoes aren't good, your pants aren't good, your shirt's not good, your eyebrows are too uniform, your hair's unkempt, you smell kind of weird. I'm sorry, these appearance things are going to matter whether you want them to or not. And so just like the other guys that were on Pearly Thing's show, like objectively, if those guys knew how to better present themselves, they could get women. But most men, I find, just as a generality, guys, aren't doing a good enough job of objectively looking at themselves and saying, when I go out into the world and present myself as such, is this the presentation that is going to make women be drawn to me or push them away? And this isn't to say you got to dress up to the nines all the time. You could be dressing in a pressed t-shirt and some jeans and call it a day if it's a clean enough look. But most guys aren't even doing that. They're going out there with their shoes untied or with dirty laces or with unwrinkled pants or like shirts that have random graphics on them that look like they're going to scare the freak out of somebody. Like, and you're wondering why women are approaching. Guys, it's fine for women to, on some level, judge your appearance. The question is, if they're doing that, are you making it easy for them to want to continue a conversation or not? Because if you're dressed in a decent enough way, that's not going to be like completely unkempt. You can do cold approach is a lot easier. You can go on a dating app and be able to get more women a lot easier. And then as they get to know you, they'll be like, oh, he has a sense of his style, and he also has a good conversation. Now you're getting extra bonus points. But if you're thinking that women are going to, at large, come up to you because of your nice personality and not judge you on your looks at all, it's ridiculous, and you got to change it. So you need to go start looking through, figuring out, hey, do what this girl did, like the girl in the video. Like, go online and start looking at a celebrity that you look similar to and how they dress, and start looking at, can some of those fashion choices be yours? Start looking at things like beard grooming kits. Start looking at things like, if you're going bald like I am, I cut my hair like twice a week. So know how to get your hair cut, know how to style yourself, know how to look in a way that's going to make yourself proud and also women at large. So hopefully that helps you out with any kind of thing I just said. Okay, if there's any questions in the chat, then by all means, ask the question, because that's all I really have for today. But yeah, guys, so hopefully this helped you out. But I really enjoyed being on Pearl's show. It comes on I'm in California, so it comes on 3 o'clock my time. It comes on, I think 4 Central, 5 Central, like that. Like, look at the times in your stuff. But I will also say, yeah, you can go to Just Pearly Things on YouTube and check out her live show. It starts in an hour. You can also go to the Audacity Network. She doesn't know I'm doing this show. I'm not promoting for her. I'm not getting paid. I just really like her stuff. So you can check that out. Also, you guys can support my stuff. Go to introvertdatingsuccess.com for my ebooks, audiobooks, other various programs. We also offer one-on-one coaching. I would love to help you guys out. And so we have a couple of questions in the chat that I'll answer before we get out of here. So this first question is, girl says often that I was in her dreams. However, nothing sexual. Does it mean anything? Well, I'll put it to you like this. Anytime a woman is saying something to you that is positive in nature as it pertains to something personal and it's not prompted, that's always a good thing. So the woman didn't have to tell you, hey, just so you know, you were in my dreams last night. The fact that she did, I will say, it's a good sign. And that is an example of a passive way for a woman to tell you that she could potentially be interested in going out with you if only you were to ask. So we'll just for now take that as an alley-oop, like, hey, I dreamed about you. And then it's your job to be like, oh, interesting. So was it like a sexy dream, or what kind of dream was it? Ha, ha, ha. And then she'll tell you, interesting. You know what? I don't know about you, but I'm a guy that likes to make dreams come true. So you know what? I got some free time on Thursday. Let's just meet up someplace such a time. Wear your best outfit. I'll show you a good time, and we can see if the reality is as good as the dream. Now you're playing with her. You're being flirty. You're not taking it seriously. So don't take things like this as super serious. It is what it is. We have another question in the chat. My girlfriend, she is a barista, and also she like girls. She always told me I don't like boys. What can I do to her so I can make her like me? I brought her phone as a gift, but she refused to take it from me. I'm assuming you're trying to say that you bought her a phone. Why would you do that? Like, you're not, she's not the girlfriend. You're not the boyfriend. You need to go get my book, No Girls for You, The Ultimate Guide to Losing the Girl of Your Dreams. It's the first book I ever wrote. And in that book, I have a whole chapter talking about the fact that you trying to buy gifts for women is one of the worst ways to try to attract them, because it feels like bribery and it feels like you're now trying to force them into a relationship, and you can't do that. Continuing, this guy says, I didn't talk to her now since 2 weeks. I feel like every 2 minutes I pick up my phone and I want to talk to her, but she hurt my feelings because she never talked to me anymore like before, and she, I guess, ignores me. So I'll say this, guy, look, ultimately, if you told her that you liked her and she's now ignoring you, then the worst thing you could do is try to go forth and talk to her. And so the fact that you haven't talked to her for 2 weeks means that you've done a good job up to this point of not reaching out to her. Keep doing that. I found, in my past, I found there were girls that I was a little too much on. I was trying to tell them feelings. I was trying to buy them gifts. I was trying to let them know my emotions and that I wanted to date them. And then it resulted in them feeling like, oh no, I can't choose this guy. And then they would ignore me. And then I found that when they would ignore me, they wouldn't reach out. And so I would leave them the heck alone. And within like a month and a half, they'd randomly hit me up. Hey, so-and-so, how are things going? Now, back then, I didn't know what that meant. I was just like, why is this chick suddenly reaching out to me? But when you leave a woman alone, that gives her time to feel that, oh, this guy's not as desperate for me as I thought. oh, wait a minute, why isn't he still obsessed with me? Could it be that I was tripping? Could it be that other women actually like him and that I missed my chance? Oh my God. So as much as it pains for you to not talk to her, I would say the best modus operandi for right now would be to not talk to her and to put yourself out there to get other women. But either way, don't reach out to her. And then if she happens to reach out within the next couple of weeks, she'll reach out. She'll do something like, hey, hi, what's up? She's not going to say things like, I miss you. Hey, we should go out on a date. It's not going to happen, right? She's going to reach out. Hey, so-and-so. Hey, what's up? Or she'll send you like either an emoji of some kind or some kind of meme, which is her way of trying to see if you're still around. At that point, you got a decision to make. Do you want to continue to to entertain that conversation? If so, I'd say let the text wait for a day and be like, oh, hey, so-and-so, I was busy yesterday. That way she won't know why you were busy. Like she could be thinking you were busy because of work or because you were busy with another girl. She won't know. Either way, you answer the next day. Oh, hey, so-and-so, I saw your thing yesterday, but I was busy. What's up? And then from there, conversation happens at some point. Hey, it's been great talking to you, but you know what? Let me know if you want to go out sometime so we can catch up further. I'd love to meet up with you. And then you leave it alone. But right now what you're doing is coming across really desperate. Like you buying the phone for her and, all that stuff. Like it's really making you be seen in a negative light, and we don't want that. So we need to give her time to not see you that way, which may mean her not seeing you or talking to you until she reaches out. So hopefully that answers your question. It's probably not the answer you want to hear. But again, I've just learned a lot of lessons about women. And the one thing I've learned is that when a woman's ignoring you, you trying to push forward and talk to her is only going to push her away more. And I found that when you leave them alone, they sometimes come back and it's amazing. So, and also to your thing, you say she never texts first. That indicates to me that you're a guy that is regularly trying to reach out to have a random conversation or build rapport or to see how she's doing. And as I stress on this channel, women don't want those conversations. Women, the only time you should be reaching out to women is to ask them on dates. If she gave you the number, fantastic. You use the number to ask her on a date. That's the only time that you should be initiating text. And I get it. You want to talk to her between dates because you're excited about her. You're like, oh my gosh, she's the best woman ever. I really want to talk. You have to learn that you're actually building up her interest more in the days between asking her for dates when she's not hearing from you, when she has time for her brain to think about you in the ways that are going to make her more attracted to you versus you constantly being on the phone, which to her brain subconsciously feels like a negotiation for her interest. And you cannot negotiate your way into a woman's heart. You have to let them come to you. As I always say, if she's chasing you, she can't be replacing you. But if you're the one constantly reaching out, constantly going to her, she never gets that feeling that it's her choice to choose you, and therefore she can never choose you. So hopefully that helps you out. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this episode. Be sure to like, subscribe, be sure to go to the website, all that good stuff. And I will catch you guys on the next episode. I'm out.